Malik James arrives at an elite university, where he encounters an arrogant fraternity accustomed to bullying unwanted newcomers. At first, he endures ridicule and rites of passage, but quickly finds himself in the center of a secret war for honor and justice. It turns out that behind the rich students are influential families willing to do anything to hide their machinations. Malik, who has not only intelligence but also excellent physical fitness, decides to challenge the system, risking everything for the sake of the truth. Don't forget to subscribe and like so you don't miss new stories. Malik James stood at the gates of Hathaway University, a backpack over his shoulder and a ticket to a new life in his pocket. He felt a mixture of pride and tension as students in expensive jackets milled around, discussing summer travel. No one paid much attention to him, but Malik noticed every detail, from the manicured lawns to the shining columns of the ancient building. "Hey, buddy, you look a little lost," he heard a mocking voice behind him. "I'm just looking around, thanks for your concern," Malik replied, turning around. A fair-haired young man stood in front of him, holding a coffee cup in his hands. Two of his friends, apparently from the same group, stood nearby and exchanged glances. "New guy, huh?" the guy continued, grinning. "Don't worry, you'll have a lot of interesting things to look forward to, especially if you keep a low profile. I'm Trevor Brighton, by the way." "Malik," he introduced himself, realizing that the first contact in a new place was tense. "Malik?" Trevor asked with feigned surprise. "Interesting name. Probably a scholarship student, huh?" Malik noticed a slight smile on the faces of Trevor's friends. Everything indicated that they had specifically paid attention to him in order to evaluate another newcomer, who, in their opinion, looked too simple for an elite university. "Yes," Malik didn't deny. "I got in on a full scholarship." "Well, congratulations," Trevor said in a tone that made the word congratulations sound almost like an insult. "I hope you can survive here." "I have no doubt that I can," Malik snapped, stepping aside to get around them. However, Trevor and his friends were in no hurry to leave. One of his friends, a brunette with an arrogant look, looked Malik up and down. "Your jacket doesn't look like it was made by the best tailors, friend. Are you sure you haven't mixed up the classrooms? Perhaps you're headed to a technical college nearby?" Malik felt irritation growing inside, but, taught by his training experience, he forced himself to keep a calm expression. "See you at the lectures," he said shortly, and walked towards the front doors. "Let's see how long you can hold out." He heard Trevor's voice behind him, and there was an open challenge in these words. Inside the main building, students were chatting, moving from one classroom to another, and someone was leafing through notes at their lockers. Malik looked for the schedule board. He was about to attend his first lecture, an advanced physics course with Dr. Ramirez. "You must be Malik?" A female voice came from behind him, and he turned around to see a short girl with a smiling face. "I'm Emily Wong, editor of the student newspaper, the Hathaway News." "It's nice to meet you," he nodded, noting her friendly tone in contrast to what was in the courtyard. "I saw Trevor and his friends telling you off for something. Don't pay attention. They're kings of the situation here only in their own eyes. Thanks for the advice. I've already noticed that they have some kind of special manner of communication," Malik answered, trying to sound calm. "If you ever have something interesting to share, come by the editorial office," Emily added, handing over her business card. "I'm always looking for topics for articles about real problems." She left, and Malik, barely holding back a sigh of relief, continued on his way to the right auditorium. When he entered the spacious lecture room, there were already about 10 people sitting there. Trevor was not among them, but Malik recognized his friends immediately. They were whispering and looking in his direction. "Hello, everyone," Dr. Bass Ramirez said confidently as he entered, carrying a folder under his arm. "Welcome to my course on modern physics. I hope you're ready for some intense work." Malik took a seat in the middle of the row, but he felt eyes on him. When the professor began with a few theoretical questions, the room fell into a tense silence. Many students were afraid of looking stupid before they had even gotten into the rhythm. "So, Dr. Ramirez looked at the audience. Can anyone briefly explain the mechanics of quantum entanglement? There was a pause. Malik felt his heart pounding, but he knew the answer. Quantum mechanics had long fascinated him. He raised his hand. Please, young man, what is your name? Malik James, sir. I can try to explain it this way. Quantum entanglement is when two particles or systems are linked in such a way that the state of one instantly affects the state of the other, regardless of distance. This is due to... He spoke evenly and confidently, trying not to think about the fact that someone behind him was probably burning his back with their contemptuous glances. When he finished, Dr. Ramirez nodded with satisfaction. Exactly, Mr. James. A very good formulation to start the discussion. Come and see me after the lecture. I have a proposal for you regarding a research group. Malik felt a surge of pride. However, as he left the room, he noticed Trevor's friends whispering rapidly. Trevor himself had not shown up for the lecture, which seemed odd given the advanced nature of the course. Well done, freshman, a real star, one of the guys said sarcastically, stepping in front of Malik in the corridor. Do you think everyone will applaud you now? No, Malik answered calmly. But if you need an explanation of quantum mechanics, come to me. At that moment, Trevor himself emerged from around the corner with his trademark grin. Here comes Hathaway's new genius. It's strange that the professor singled you out right away, as if none of the others deserved attention. Maybe because I really prepared and know the material? Malik tried to sound friendly. Knowing the material is a good thing, Trevor shrugged. Only here it happens that other kinds of connections decide everything. But look, maybe you'll be smart enough to avoid problems. He nudged Malik's shoulder as he passed. Malik felt his anger boiling up inside him, but he put all the self-control he had gained on the tatami into himself. Trevor, Emily suddenly intervened, having noticed what had happened. Are you recruiting people into your brotherhood through intimidation? First of all, Emily, I don't have to tell you anything, Trevor said through gritted teeth. Secondly, I'm just introducing the newbie to our traditions. Oh, Epsilon Gamma and all these traditions? An interesting form of friendliness. The girl grinned, glancing briefly at Malik. I don't understand why you belittle people. Trevor frowned, then looked at Malik with open malice. I hope your new reporter girlfriend will explain to you what happens to those who meddle in other people's business. He disappeared into the crowd. Emily sighed. Don't listen to them. They always do that. Pick a target and try to intimidate. If anything, I have ways to make it public. Thank you, Malik said quietly, still feeling the residual tension from the brief skirmish. After lunch, he finally made it to Dr. Ramirez's office. There, a middle-aged scientist invited him to join a research group that was experimenting with quantum computing. Malik was thrilled. This was a chance to get his hands on some truly cutting-edge research. Sir, I'd be happy to participate, he said. But are you sure I'm the right person? I'm sure, the professor nodded. I watched you explain the concept in lecture, and I like students who aren't afraid to take on challenges. As Malik left the office, he smiled to himself. The start of his studies at Hathaway no longer seemed so gloomy, despite Trevor's threats. He thought about the new opportunities that would come his way, and that was a little encouraging. But an evening stroll around campus brought back another aspect of life at Hathaway University, the sullen chatter of students who were also bothered by Epsilon Gamma. One young man named Pablo, his eyes averted, approached Malik at the colonnade. Sorry to bother you. I saw Trevor picking on you today, Pablo said quietly. He and his gang have long arms. If they want to make your life miserable, they will. I'm not going to indulge them, Malik replied softly. Thanks for warning me. Trevor and his friends from Epsilon Gamma think they can do anything, Pablo added. Many can't take it anymore and drop out or transfer to another college. Malik clenched his fists at the mention of intimidation. He knew that in situations like these, Giving in to anger was pointless. It was far more effective to keep a clear head. "Listen, Pablo," he said, "if we all keep quiet, they'll continue their traditions. Surely they've tried to force someone to undergo humiliating rituals before." "Yes, that happens every year to newcomers," Pablo admitted, trembling at the memory. "I had to endure ridicule because I'm not from a privileged family." "So something needs to be done," Malik said decisively. When he returned to his small dorm room, he was haunted by thoughts of injustice. His roommate, a cheerful guy named Leo, jokingly remarked, "I hear you've already had meetings with our golden youth. Be careful with Trevor. He's on good terms with the local dean and many of the teachers." "Thank you for warning me," Malik nodded, setting his backpack down by the chair. "But I can't let them dictate how I live my life." "You definitely can't," Leo chuckled. "But know that they like to do small, nasty things. They'll rummage through things or spread rumors." Malik remembered how during old training sessions his coach had told him, "A strong fighter is one who can remain calm inside even at the most intense moment of a fight." And now he felt that the first week of training was already turning into a fight, although for now it was only an emotional one. As the night wore on, the dorm corridors grew quiet. Malik went out into the common room to get a drink of water and noticed Emily typing something on her laptop at one of the tables. "Malik, hi," she nodded. "Have you settled in yet?" "Not so far," he admitted. "There are too many oddities." "I was told that Trevor was harassing you." Emily took off her headphones. "You know, a lot of people are afraid to talk about it. Maybe you want to tell us what happened." "What's the point?" Malik shrugged. "Even if I tell him, he'll keep pushing. He can get away with anything, he has connections. That's why we need resonance. If people know how Epsilon Gamma intimidates those they don't like, there will be enough noise so that the management won't be able to turn a blind eye to it," Emily said quietly, intertwining her fingers. "I'm collecting material here, but I don't have enough big stories." "I understand," Malik sighed. "But so far I don't have anything concrete. He was just rude, threatening, mocking." "And that's enough to start," she said. "Think about it. I can record your story anonymously, but I think you'll still prove yourself." Malik, having said goodbye, returned to the room. He lay down on the bed looking at the ceiling. Tomorrow there would be more lectures, more nagging from Trevor and his entourage, more need to control himself. "I can handle this," he whispered, remembering all those years he'd trained in his hometown dojo. "It's not the first time I've encountered people who think they're better than others." Outside the window, the wind swayed the branches of the trees, and distant footsteps could be heard in the silence. Someone was returning late from the library. Malik understood. There was a huge amount of work ahead, not only on science but also on protecting himself and perhaps helping others who were trapped by Trevor. He closed his eyes, trying to drive away disturbing thoughts, and knew that tomorrow, with the sunrise, the real fight for a place in this elite but far from ideal university would begin. The next morning, Malik James got up earlier than usual, deciding to spend 15 minutes in the gym. He woke up with the idea that he needed to stay mentally fit as well as physically fit. As he entered the spacious, still almost empty room, he immediately noticed a lone figure warming up in front of the mirror. It was Pablo Mendez, the same shy guy who had shared his worries the day before. "Hello," Malik said quietly, coming closer. "Are you here early?" "Yes." Pablo looked around and smiled slightly. "I think if I start the day with a run and a light workout, I will somehow cope with stress. And you?" "I have the same idea." Malik nodded, putting the bottle of water on the bench. "I couldn't sleep for a long time last night. I was going over the situation with Trevor in my head. I decided it was better not to let myself relax." "You're really cool." "I saw how you stood up to him," Pablo sighed, leaning forward. "I can't imagine how you can stay so calm." I assure you I was seething inside. "But you know, my father took me to the dojo when I was a child, and there I realized If you don't control yourself, you can run into even bigger problems. And in a world where you are provoked, this is especially important. Pablo nodded in understanding. They warmed up in silence for a few minutes, after which Malik moved on to light weights and Pablo to the treadmill. Soon, other students began to arrive, and the atmosphere filled with the sounds of footsteps and the rhythmic clanking of exercise machines. "Hey, guys!" a low voice boomed from the entrance. "Who would have thought that I'd meet our new talent here so early in the morning?" Malik looked up and saw a familiar, arrogant face. Josh Erickson, one of Trevor's closest friends. Yesterday he hadn't been particularly aggressive, but he had looked down on Malik. Now Josh's expression was mocking. "Hello," Malik answered calmly, without stopping his dumbbell press. "Aren't you trying too hard?" Josh continued. "Otherwise, maybe you'll have to use your brains instead of your muscles during lectures. Although, some people don't need that." Malik repeated the comment again, trying not to respond to the barb with a barb. "I have time for both," he said finally. "And if you run out of arguments, I'll be happy to discuss something more difficult." Josh grinned. He walked on where 2 more Epsilon Gamma members were waiting for him. They were whispering something, glancing in the direction of Malik and Pablo. "They're just testing the waters," Pablo muttered, turning off the treadmill. "Maybe they're looking for a reason to start a conflict." "Let them search," Malik answered quietly. "I won't be the first to attack." Soon they finished training and headed to the locker rooms. On the way, they met Leo, Malik's roommate, who waved good-naturedly. "Why are you here so early?" "I thought that at this time only athletes from the national teams were here." "We decided to do the training before classes," Malik responded. "How are you?" "Yeah, fine. I heard Trevor is going to test the newbies today. Rumor has it he's got some stupid campus challenge in mind." "Challenge?" Pablo asked, frowning. "It sounds like they're going to make us do something humiliating." "That's exactly it," Leo nodded. "They regularly have such traditions, carrying huge bags, collecting some signatures, funny costumes. Anyone who refuses is hounded even more." "Great, just like adult life," Malik said bitterly. "Okay, if anything happens, will you warn me when and where it starts?" "Of course," Leo sighed. "I don't want them to catch you off guard." The thought made Malik's insides clench. He imagined Trevor could start any game that would be aimed at humiliation, and those around him would simply laugh or pretend they didn't notice. An hour later, the hallways of the main building were filled with students. Outside Dr. Ramirez's classroom, Malik ran into Emily Wong. Seeing her serious face, he immediately realized that something was wrong. "Malik, I have information. Trevor and the guys from Epsilon Gamma are preparing today what they call the Freshers' Challenge, supposedly a joke task for new students. In reality, they use it to ridicule and belittle those who do not meet their standards." "How are they going to do this?" he asked. "I heard they're planning to gather people in the square in front of the library at noon. Officially, it's a voluntary event, but if you don't show up, you'll be a prime target." "And if I show up, will they poison me in front of everyone?" "A great alternative," Malik grimaced. "Okay, let's see how they arrange it." Emily frowned. "I'm thinking about doing some covert filming and then writing an article, but I need support. There are a few students who want to talk about the fraternity's past nastiness, but they're scared. Maybe you'll talk to them?" "No problem," Malik nodded. "The more evidence, the better." "You do realize that Trevor might get really mad?" Emily narrowed her eyes. "I don't want things to get out of hand." "As long as they don't cross the line themselves, I just watch and remember," Malik said quietly. "But if they do—" Emily nodded as if in agreement. At that moment, Professor Ramirez entered the classroom and called everyone to order, beginning the lecture. For almost the entire lesson, Malik caught Josh's eyes on him, who was sitting behind him and talking loudly to another fraternity member, as if hinting at something. It was obvious that they were preparing an unpleasant surprise. Immediately after the lecture, Malik headed to the cafeteria to get some food and think about how to respond to the upcoming Freshers Challenge. Taking a tray of food, he found an empty table in the corner. A minute later, Pablo sat down next to him, looking around awkwardly. "I heard from Leo. If you don't show up at that square, they might boycott you," Pablo said quickly. "But if you do show up, they'll probably do something harsh. And I'll get it anyway, right?" Malik chuckled darkly. "Something like that." Pablo sighed. "But maybe you can handle it. You have character, and their jokes may not be so scary." At that moment, a mocking voice sounded in my ear. "I hear someone discussing the Freshers' Challenge? Interesting. Interesting." Malik turned around and saw Trevor looking into his plate. "Personally, I think any newbie should try it," Trevor continued with false friendliness. "Nothing super complicated, just a test of courage and creativity." "You make it sound so nice," Malik replied. "But everyone knows that this is a way to humiliate those you don't like." "Humiliate?" Trevor feigned surprise. "How can you speak of such a beautiful custom in a humiliating way? We are all one family here, right?" "I doubt it," Pablo said quietly. "Oh, and you, Mendez, don't have to come. No one will notice." Trevor snorted contemptuously, then turned to Malik. "But you're a smart guy, daring. Let's see what you're capable of when it comes to team spirit." Malik opened his mouth to object, but Emily stood next to him, holding a notebook. "Hi, Trevor. I'm writing a story about your event. Mind if I ask a few questions?" Trevor winced as if from the smell of burning. "I'm always happy to help the independent press," he said through gritted teeth. "At least one question. Aren't you afraid that your articles might be too one-sided? Nothing more than your challenges. By the way, tell me for the record what the essence of the tests will be." Trevor chuckled and ran his hand through his perfectly styled hair. "Emily, don't worry. It's all going to be a friendly affair. Maybe someone will have to sing a funny song or walk around campus in a ridiculous outfit. Just a little humor. The spirit of community, you know?" "Of course," Emily pretended to write it down. "And if someone refuses?" "Then he will show that he is not ready to participate in the life of our community," Trevor immediately answered. "Why do we need such people?" "I see," Emily replied in a mocking tone. "Thank you for the interview." "You're welcome," Trevor nodded, glancing at Malik once more. "I'll meet you at the square at noon, boy. Don't be late." He left, followed by the mocking glances of his comrades. Malik looked down at his plate, feeling anger welling up inside him. Pablo swallowed, feeling the tension too. "I'll try to go and see," Pablo said quietly. "Maybe I can at least be some moral support." "Thank you," Malik nodded. By midday, the sun was flooding the square outside the central library. Quite a few people had gathered. Some were there for fun, some were there out of curiosity, and some were simply in the wrong place at the wrong time. Malik stood to the side for a minute, watching Trevor and his group set up tables and put things in boxes on them. "Well, shall we begin?" Trevor announced loudly. "Today we are here to welcome the first years and test their courage. We, Epsilon Gamma, love traditions." There was a chuckle from the crowd, many of whom understood that the traditions were meant to be a mockery. Emily stood a little further away, clutching her camera. Malik caught her eye, and she nodded almost imperceptibly, indicating that she was recording what was happening. "Friends," Trevor continued, "we have several missions. First, each of the newcomers who accepted the challenge needs to come here, choose a card with a task, and complete it. If he does not complete it, alas, he does not demonstrate team spirit." Several people came forward to the invitation, looking like guys who either didn't want to quarrel with the fraternity or thought the tasks would actually be a joke. Malik moved toward the table without much enthusiasm, sensing that the situation could get out of hand. Pablo stood in the crowd, nervously fiddling with the hem of his sweater. "Oh, glad you're here," Trevor remarked when he saw Malik. "Go ahead, draw a card." Malik reached in and pulled out a thick rectangle of paper. Handwritten on it was the words, "Do an impromptu dance right now and have 10 people rate you." He frowned. It sounded humiliating, but maybe not the worst thing. But who knew how it would end? Next to him, from another box, someone pulled out the task, walk around the auditorium building in slippers and collect signatures for renaming the university. Another guy pulled out a card. Sing a song in front of everyone. Well, are you going to start? Trevor grinned, waving his hand toward the place in front of the table. Show me your class. Malik smiled crookedly. I have no problem dancing, but I'm sure that's not all. You want to make me laugh, right? Don't be ridiculous, Josh laughed, holding out his phone in video recording mode. Malik clenched his fists, then remembered his father's words. Strong is not the one who ignores a challenge, but the one who chooses how to respond. At that moment, he took a breath, lifted his chin, and made a few smooth movements reminiscent of rhythmic capoeira. He was not going to break, even though it looked ridiculous to the audience. Several people began to laugh. Someone chanted, "So where are your 10 grades?" Trevor smiled evilly as soon as Malik finished the movement. "Here they are," Emily suddenly intervened, raising her hand. "I give him an excellent. The guy is original." There was a timid round of applause from the crowd. 5 students also shouted, "That was okay!" and gave a thumbs up. Malik felt grateful, but he also knew Trevor wasn't happy about it. 7 ratings, let's say, Trevor grumbled. Where are the rest? At this point, Pablo stepped forward. I liked it, and I give it a 10 out of 10. And the guy next to me says the same. Great, Malik sighed, trying to sound confident. So we need one more, right? Before they had time to agree, a short girl approached the table and smiled. I also give it a 10. But in general, this all seems crazy. Look, I completed the task. Malik turned to Trevor. Any other complaints? The crowd perked up a bit. Some laughed at the situation. Some, on the contrary, watched with interest as Trevor tried to get out of it. He looked around, twisting his mouth. Come on, you did it. Congratulations, you've passed the test, he chuckled. But we have some tougher tasks here. Maybe you'll try them too. One is enough for me, Malik snapped, taking a step back. He sensed that things were going downhill. The fraternity apparently wanted to keep sending humiliating tasks one after another until someone snapped or ran away. But Emily kept filming, Pablo stood by, and many students already perceived what was happening more as a circus than as an authoritative tradition. Friends, Trevor said loudly, looking around the crowd. Well, today we are just warming up. I think in the next stages we will see who is really worthy of being here and who is not. Let's consider that Malik has passed the mini-test for now, and those of you who haven't taken a card yet, come on over. No one moved. Even those who wanted to suddenly hesitated. Trevor felt his influence slipping. He needed to regain control, and he pointed sharply at Pablo. Come on, Mendez, do you want to try? No, Pablo replied, swallowing nervously. I don't think it's necessary to participate. Then you admit that you don't support the traditions of the university, Trevor smirked. Are you prepared to face the consequences? Pablo clenched his fists, looking for Malik. He nodded and stepped forward. Trevor, he is not obliged to do anything that is contrary to his will. You are not the rector's office to decide who supports and who does not. The crowd buzzed. Trevor turned purple but kept his expression defiant. Okay, we'll continue another time, but... His eyes flashed with anger. So you know, whoever doesn't participate plays against us. Play whatever you want, Malik said quietly, turning away. Seeing this development, many students dispersed. Pablo rushed to Malik. Thank you. I thought they would force me to do something terrible. As long as we stick together, they won't be able to force us. The important thing is not to give in, he responded. And most importantly, everyone saw and heard this. Emily stopped nearby, putting away her camera. I have some good material. Your dance, Trevor's reaction, Pablo's threat. I think if I publish this, the Brotherhood will have problems. Be careful, Malik warned. Trevor and his friends might respond even more harshly. They don't like to lose. Me too, Emily chuckled. And I like the truth too. Okay, see you later. That afternoon, Malik went to another one of Dr. Ramirez's lectures. It was quiet, but when he left the room, Josh Erickson was leaning against the wall. So, do you think it's that easy? He said, seeing Malik. Trevor is unhappy. You ruined his show. I don't have to entertain you, Malik snapped. You could earn some respect if you did something really hard, Josh winked. As it is, you just got by with a cheap dance. Listen, Malik felt a wave of indignation rise up inside him. I'm not asking for your respect. I don't really care what you think. I'm here to learn, not to do humiliating tasks. Yes? Josh stood in front of him. I advise you to come to your senses. Believe me, Epsilon Gamma easily eliminates those who go against it. What, paying the dean? Intimidating other students? Or something else? Malik raised an eyebrow. Josh bared his teeth and stepped closer. Hey, don't talk about things you don't understand. Trevor might get in touch with the right people, and you'll get into trouble. You're here on a scholarship, right? So what? Malik tensed his whole body, expecting a possible provocation. That and the fact that if you piss off the powerful people, you'll end up on the street, Josh hissed. Or you can join us, show loyalty. Then maybe you'll be in the black. Nice try, Malik sighed, taking a half step back. But I'm not selling out. At that moment, Professor Ramirez walked down the corridor and noticed the tense scene. Young men, is everything all right? He asked with a slight smile, looking from one to the other. Sure, Professor, Josh responded instantly, putting on a carefree face. Just discussing my term paper. Wonderful, Ramirez nodded. I hope the discussion is productive. Josh, casting a piercing glance at Malik, walked away, lost in the flow of students. The professor came closer to Malik and quietly asked, Is everything really okay? It looks like you have some disagreements with some of the students. Yes, there are some minor conflicts, Malik admitted reluctantly. Nothing that could overshadow my studies. I'm willing to listen if necessary, Ramirez said softly. You're showing good results, and I wouldn't want any hostility to stop you from opening up. Thank you, Professor, Malik answered sincerely. That evening, as dusk fell over the campus, Malik, Emily, and Pablo met outside the Epsilon Gamma fraternity house. The house was impressive, an ancient building with columns, symbols, and a lush garden. Voices could be heard from the street. It seemed like there was some kind of party going on inside. To be honest, I'm worried, Pablo whispered, peering out from behind the bushes. Why did we come here? Emily says she wants to shoot some exterior shots, Malik explained. To show the luxury the fraternity enjoys, she's doing a story. Exactly, Emily nodded, raising the camera. If we show the difference between the old Hathaway Foundation and this specialness, maybe people will wonder about the machinations that allow Epsilon Gamma to keep everyone in fear. Yes, but what if we are noticed? Pablo looked around nervously. Before they could move away, a figure appeared at the gate. The bright light from the yard allowed them to see that it was Josh Erickson. He was holding a red plastic cup in his hand, apparently filled with a drink. Emily. He raised his eyebrows in surprise. I didn't think you'd see me at such a time. Are you filming a report? I'm collecting materials, the girl answered evenly, without putting the camera away. After all, the fraternity residence is not a closed territory, but part of the campus. But it's still private property, Josh grinned. It's a closed reception. The press wasn't invited. I'm not asking to come in. Emily narrowed her eyes. I just wanted a few shots from the outside. Is that illegal? I hope you have permission from the dean's office, Josh pressed, looking at her with arrogance. What are you doing here, Malik? Tracked down my invitation? Want to join the company? Malik shook his head mockingly. You said I'm not right for you. Then why invite me? It's enough for me to see how you drown your complexes in booze. Josh gave him a dirty look, but faked a smile. Okay, stay outside, but don't come too close. We have a serious meeting there. Although, he smiled indulgently, you can come in and listen to us discuss what to do with the dissatisfied? No thanks, Pablo replied, trying to remain calmer than he felt. Josh walked away, saying one last warning. Be smarter. Anyone who goes against Epsilon Gamma will regret it. Trust me. When he disappeared behind the gate, Emily took a couple more pictures and sighed. They are playing at intimidation, but I have a feeling that they will soon move on to more severe methods. We need to speed up the article. Maybe we'll find more witnesses, Malik said quietly. If there are many voices, it will be harder for the university administration to turn a blind eye. Pablo nodded, feeling mixed emotions. On the one hand, he was afraid, but on the other, he had a glimmer of hope that Malik would be able to resist this system and at the same time help him. That night, Malik tossed and turned in his bed, thinking over the events of the day again. The dance in front of the crowd, the taunts, the new threats. But he didn't feel defeated. On the contrary, his resolve grew stronger. He recalled his coach once saying, "If you can remain calm when they try to put you down, you've already won half the battle." Half the victory is mine, Malik whispered, looking at the ceiling. All that's left is to endure the other half and not let them ruin my life and dreams. He closed his eyes, letting his fatigue take over. Somewhere in the corridor, Leo was quietly talking to someone on the phone, and the night wind was howling outside the window. Ahead of the new day, Malik felt that more than one test of strength awaited him, but he decided not to retreat. As long as he believed in his strength and had the support of several allies, fear could no longer dictate his terms. At dawn, Malik was already standing under the old chestnut trees behind the dormitory, breathing in the cool air. It was quiet in the small courtyard, and he decided to do a short combat warm-up here. A few smooth punches, a couple of dodges, a movement of the body, a simple combination to shake himself up and get ready for the new day. He felt how every muscle was getting toned and his head was becoming clear. "There you are," he heard a quiet voice behind him and turned around, meeting Emily Wong's gaze. "I thought I wouldn't find you so early." "Hello?" He nodded, relaxing his shoulders. "Is something wrong?" "It seems so. I've spoken to several students who were bullied by Epsilon Gamma last year. They have serious stories, but none of them are willing to give formal interviews." Emily pursed her lips. "Most are afraid of getting kicked out or having their references ruined." "That's not surprising," Malik sighed. "I already had the impression that Trevor and his friends have long arms. The problem is," she continued, taking a step closer, "that without specific names and facts, the article will just look like a bunch of rumors. We need something more substantial, and maybe someone who isn't afraid to speak up." "So you want me to be the face of this story?" Malik frowned. "Partly, yes. You're one of those who's willing to confront them head-on. But I don't want to pressure you," Emily added quickly. "I just think that after everything that's happened, your word carries weight." Malik paused, recalling the recent challenges and ridicule. "I'll think about it. I don't want to let others down, or myself, but I can't keep quiet," he finally answered. "We'll meet later, when we have more information." "Thank you." Emily smiled with relief. "I knew you wouldn't stand aside." She left, and Malik thought for a few more minutes. The further he went, the clearer it became. Trevor would not give up so easily. He had to either live in constant fear or go all the way. At breakfast in the cafeteria, he bumped into Leo, who waved him over to his table. There were 3 other students there, Marcus, Brianna, and Rob. They all looked wary, as if they had been discussing something before Malik arrived. "Have a seat," Leo suggested, gesturing to an empty seat. "There's some news." "News?" Malik asked, putting down the tray. "It looks like Epsilon Gamma is starting to see who's supporting you," Marcus said, a hint of reproach in his voice. "They came up to me and Brianna last night, asking if we were helping you." "Did you answer anything?" Malik raised his eyebrows. They said we were just talking to everyone. Brianna chimed in. But they seem to be unhappy with the idea of people sympathizing with you. Yes, Rob nodded. For example, they didn't bother me at all before, but now they've hinted that if I make friends with the unwanted, I might have problems with participating in university projects. Malik looked down at his coffee cup, uncomfortably aware that his conflict with Trevor was affecting the other students. I'm sorry if I got you into trouble, he said quietly, but I'm not going to back down. We understand, Leo responded. Just be prepared. The further you go, the harder they'll push. I'm ready, Malik said, folding his napkin. And you, decide for yourselves how to act. I don't want to drag anyone into this by force. Brianna suddenly touched his hand. We will not become cowards. If necessary, we will support, but we will do it more carefully. Marcus added with a skeptical expression. I hope we'll be cautious enough because if they start involving the dean's office or their connections, they might just kick us out of the university. Got it, Malik nodded. Thanks, guys. Soon Malik headed to another lecture by Dr. Ramirez. In the corridor, on the approaches to the auditorium, he heard a quiet argument. Listen, Trevor, maybe you should stop pressuring this guy. We don't need to escalate the conflict, it was Josh's voice. No, I'm not going to stop, Trevor replied, clearly annoyed. He's bringing us down, refusing to abide by tradition, making Epsilon Gamma look bad. But there is a risk that the scandal will reach the rector. So what? Trevor snorted. My father donated a huge amount to the university. The rector would not dare to put our family in an awkward position. Malik held his breath, listening through the half-open door. He was essentially eavesdropping, but he knew this information was important. I'm just saying we need to do this carefully, Josh insisted. If we frame him too obviously, everyone will know who's behind this. We'll figure it out, Trevor snapped. The main thing is to show that he doesn't mean anything here. Then the footsteps moved away. Malik exhaled slowly. Now he knew for sure that Trevor was going to act carefully, but still act. When he entered the classroom, Dr. Ramirez was already beginning the lesson, but when he noticed Malik, he made a quick gesture, as if he wanted to talk after the lecture. At the end of the lesson, the professor actually called him to the podium. Mr. James, I had a feeling that you were worried about something. I understand that you don't have to tell me personal things, but if there's something you need... Thank you, Professor. Malik bowed his head briefly. It's just tension with the guys from Epsilon Gamma. They're unhappy with my behavior, and I don't want to submit to their stupid rituals. There's nothing surprising about that. This fraternity has long been famous for its aggressive method of socialization. But know this. I always try to support students who study conscientiously and don't want to get involved in conflicts, Ramirez said quietly. If things get really bad, contact the dean's office or even me. Okay, it's just... Malik hesitated. I'm holding on by myself for now. I understand. The professor touched his shoulder. But don't let yourself be intimidated. After lunch, Malik, on his way to the library, noticed Pablo standing off to the side, talking to a girl named Rosa, who seemed worried. Malik decided to approach her as he heard anxiety in her voice. I just don't know what to do, Rose said. They're threatening to send a false complaint to the dean if I don't stop associating with inappropriate people. Is this Trevor and company? Malik asked. It seems so, she replied. I swear I haven't done anything wrong. I just help Emily with her articles sometimes. They want to intimidate Emily so that she has fewer assistants, Pablo noted sullenly. By the way, the article is almost ready. She promised to show it soon. It turns out that Epsilon Gamma understands that this publication could seriously set them up. Malik frowned. That means that now they will probably try to launch a preemptive strike, either to discredit Emily or to discredit me and all of us. Yes, Rose sighed. I'm afraid. Malik looked into her eyes. I won't persuade you to take risks. Everyone decides for themselves. But if you want to achieve something, you sometimes have to say no to someone who is pressuring you unfairly. Rose wanted to answer, but at that moment their conversation was interrupted by a loud cry. Hey, you there! Come here for a minute! Malik looked back and saw Trevor and his 3 friends on the steps. They were hovering near the entrance to one of the lab annexes. It's a trap, Pablo said quietly, but Malik, narrowing his eyes, headed towards them. What do you want? He asked as he approached. We thought, Trevor folded his arms across his chest, that we have a unique opportunity to join forces. You, they say, have the ability to study. We have the connections and resources. Are you kidding me? Malik smiled wryly. Not at all. Trevor's smile looked predatory. Let's say you join Epsilon Gamma. With your intelligence, you could help us with projects, tests, and in exchange, we guarantee you peace, access to certain privileges. Yeah, and I'll be your free tutor while you play your dirty games? Malik asked sarcastically. You can call it that, but think, it's better to be with us than against us. Pablo swore under his breath behind Malik. Rosa shifted from foot to foot, looking from Trevor to Malik in shock. No, Malik said after a short pause. Definitely not? Trevor frowned slightly. Think about what kind of life you have. You constantly have to look over your shoulder to see if they'll take away your scholarship or give you a pig. I won't bend, Malik snapped. Thank you for the offer, but I'm not interested. Trevor's eyes flashed with anger, but he covered it up with mockery again. Well, it's your choice. But remember, you'll have to pay for every choice. He walked away, making it clear that the conversation was over. Malik noticed one of his friends looking at him with obvious anger. Yes, everything was moving towards the fact that there would be no peaceful solution. That evening, Malik finally met Emily in one of the library's reading rooms. The soft light of the lamps, the rows of books on the walls, and the almost complete silence were the perfect place to calmly discuss plans. I prepared a draft of the article, she said quietly, turning the laptop in front of Malik. I told him how Epsilon Gamma conducts its challenges, that they intimidate students. Basically everything we dug up. Okay, he nodded, skimming through the text. There's a lot of specifics here, but aren't you afraid they'll call it slander? I'm mentioning a few anonymous testimonies, Emily explained. And one more thing. There was one senior who agreed to give a comment under his real name. He says he's leaving college soon, so he's not afraid anymore. Malik frowned. I hope the last couple of months of school won't hurt him. He said that the degree of risk is not important. He just wants to show everyone the truth. Then I respect him. Emily leaned back in her chair. You know, I keep wondering if it's time to add a personal story from you to the article. You, too, became a victim of these tests. Yes, but I don't want it to look like this is a personal vendetta against Trevor. Malik shook his head. It's better if I'm just one of the voices. Fair enough. However, Emily bit her lip, Trevor is trying to pull you over to his side since he realized that you are strong not only in combat but also in studies. It means that they are afraid of your potential. I'm afraid that now they will go on the attack. Well then, let's not put off publishing, Emily suggested. I'll proofread everything tomorrow morning, and by evening I'll post the article in the university's online journal. Agreed, Malik closed the laptop. Let's see what they do in response. That same night, close to midnight, Malik was lying in bed and listening to Leo rustling the pages of his textbook at the other end of the room. Suddenly, there was a loud knock on the door of their room. Leo got up, opened it, and out of breath, Pablo appeared in the hallway. Malik, come out. We need to talk, he exclaimed. What happened? Malik jumped up, throwing on his sweatshirt. They ran out into the corridor. Pablo moved closer and whispered, I just saw someone from Epsilon Gamma walking around outside Emily's room. Then she came out herself, and they were talking rudely about something. It seemed to me that they were trying to intimidate her. Where is she now? Malik frowned. She ran downstairs and those two guys were after her. I'm not sure they would hurt her, but it looked scary. Malik buttoned up his jacket and rushed to the stairs. As he descended to the first floor, he heard muffled voices at the side exit. I understand what you want, but I'm not going to keep quiet, Emily said angrily. You can tell Trevor that this article is going to come out anyway. Hey girl, be polite, one of the guys laughed. Nobody's telling you to shut up, but maybe you want to think about the consequences? Consequences? She repeated excitedly. I'm a journalist for a university newspaper. I have the right to write about problems. Malik stepped decisively around the corner, seeing Emily sandwiched between a wall and two young men in identical fraternity jackets. Hey, he shouted, clenching his fists. Leave her alone. Wow, Mr. Hero, one of the guys chuckled, taking a step back. What are you yelling about? We're just having a conversation. It looks like your conversation is rather unpleasant. Malik came closer, shielding Emily with his body. If you have any complaints, discuss them during the day. Oh yes, we'll definitely discuss it, said the second one, and nudged Malik with his shoulder, trying to get him mad. Who are you to butt in? Malik felt a familiar wave of adrenaline. He remembered his coach's instructions. Don't fight to the end, but if you have to, hit accurately and effectively. I'm the one who won't let you intimidate people. And if you want to check, you can keep pushing. Calm down. The first guy put his palms forward, pretending the conflict was over. We'll just pass on the message. Emily, don't you dare publish false things. It will damage your reputation. Get out, Malik said quietly. The boys exchanged angry glances, but moved towards the exit. One threat was enough this time. Malik waited until they left, then turned to Emily. Are you okay? I think so. She breathed heavily, clutching the phone. They clearly didn't expect me to object. They thought they'd scare me, and that's it. It looks like Trevor sent reinforcements to put pressure on you. Malik frowned as he watched the boys leave. But you're not going to give up, are you? No. Emily wiped the sweat from her forehead with her sleeve. I won't give up now even more. She hugged her bag tighter to herself. I'll go up to my room, put the finishing touches on the article and publish it tomorrow. I don't want them to think I can be broken. Okay. And I'll stay here a little longer if they suddenly decide to come back, Malik suggested. Malik firmly placed the envelope on the table. This is a printout of the system logs from the student database. It shows that the account J. Erickson made changes to my account at 4 a.m. That's when the evidence of my alleged involvement in the fraud appeared. What nonsense! Trevor was indignant. Josh couldn't. It's easy to fake. You made something up yourself. We have a technician ready to confirm the authenticity of the logs, Ramirez said. I have studied them myself, and I believe that it is impossible to simply draw them without leaving any traces. Yes, but who is this specialist? Why doesn't he speak in person? The lawyer cast a displeased glance at the papers. And anyway, there could be forgery on Malik's part. We will check this officially, the dean said sternly. If the logs are indeed found to be genuine, then all charges against Mr. James will be invalidated. Moreover, the fact of criminal forgery will then emerge, and perhaps Mr. Erickson will have to answer. Trevor tried to say something, but the lawyer interrupted. I ask you to suspend the conclusions. We will demand an independent examination. In the meantime, we believe that Mr. James himself fabricated everything in order to look like a victim. Professor Ramirez shook his head. Gentlemen, don't you think that everything is obvious? Yesterday, you caught Malik without any particular grounds, and now that he presents evidence, you are shouting about self-fabrication. I agree with the professor, the dean concluded. An independent examination will be appointed to check the logs. Until then, Mr. James's suspension will be lifted. He can attend all classes. But I also advise all parties not to stir up conflict. Trevor clenched his fists. So he'll get away with it again? Or you, Trevor, won't get away with it if it turns out that your friend Josh faked everything, Malik objected harshly. Enough, the dean interrupted sternly. Wait for the results, and please, no fights or threats. As Malik left the dean's office, he felt as if a weight had been lifted from his shoulders. Emily was waiting outside the door, looking at him hopefully. Well? I was reinstated in full, he smiled. And then an independent examination. It seems Trevor has no more arguments. Professor Ramirez followed them out. Congratulations, Mr. James. I think we'll see the end of this story soon. I'll try to make sure the logs are checked fairly. Thank you, Professor, Malik nodded gratefully. Go celebrate, guys, he added, smiling slightly. That evening, the campus was unusually lively. Many had heard that Malik had been acquitted, and that Epsilon Gamma was now on the brink of a forgery scandal. A news item appeared on one of the forums. Brighton family under investigation for attempting to frame student. You see, Pablo said, approaching Malik in the common room. People are writing that the system where the rich decide everything will finally break down. I hope so. Malik sat down on a chair. Trevor hasn't given up yet, but if the examination confirms the facts, he won't get away with it. What are you going to do next? Asked Brianna, who had also come up. Are you going to go into the shadows or keep fighting? I didn't want to fight, but it seems that once I've taken on this, I have to go all the way. If Epsilon Gamma is guilty of systematic bullying, they will have to answer, Malik replied. And Emily won't stop until she brings this to a public end. That's right, Brianna smiled. A lot of students support you. They were just afraid to speak up before. In the evening, Malik went to a small gym where he hoped to warm up a little. But there he ran into Trevor, sitting on a bench near the ring. His arm was in a sling, and there were signs of beatings on his face. When he saw Malik, he threw a burning look. Oh, hello, winner, he said sarcastically. Have you come to admire my humiliation? No, Malik said quietly, coming closer. I came to tell you, I don't want your complete capitulation. I just want you to stop intimidating and manipulating people. You know, Trevor gave a bitter grin. I used to think that everything could be bought. Dad made donations, arranged meetings with deans. But now it suddenly turns out that not everyone is afraid. It's unusual. Maybe this is a chance to change your approach, Malik suggested, sitting down next to her. You want to be a leader? Be a leader who helps, not humiliates. It's funny to hear that from someone who beat me in the ring, Trevor snorted. You were the one who set up this challenge, Malik reminded him. I just responded. A minute of silence followed. It was already getting dark outside the windows of the hall. The exercise machines and benches were plunged into semi-darkness. Okay, Trevor finally exhaled. What happens to me and Epsilon Gamma now? If the examination confirms that it was Josh who falsified the data, you will at least be punished, Malik shrugged. But perhaps if you admit your guilt and apologize, the dean will take this into account. Trevor smiled wryly. Do you dream that I will get on my knees and repent? I don't need your knees, Malik responded calmly. I need the university to stop persecuting people based on skin color, social status, and other characteristics. Trevor looked down. Okay, maybe I did go too far. I'm just used to the way things are done in our family. Malik felt a strange pity suddenly arise inside him for this spoiled boy who didn't know how to behave any other way. Listen, he said quietly, standing up. It's up to you to continue in the same spirit or to try to improve. But know this, if you try to set me up again, I will not be lenient. Got it. Trevor nodded without looking up. Already leaving the hall, Malik saw Emily at the door, who was looking at him with a smile. You are a real diplomat, you know. That's good to hear, he sighed. It's just that maybe Trevor isn't hopeless. I hope so, she nodded. By the way, tomorrow at noon, the results of the examination. The dean promised to announce them officially. Well, tomorrow it seems we'll find out the ending, he answered calmly. The next day, the cafeteria was packed. Everyone was waiting for news. When the dean posted a short statement on the website, the crowd at the stand exploded with animated shouts. Malik, squeezing closer, read, "The committee has found that the material provided against Mr. James was added to the student record system illegally. The appropriate persons involved in the forgery will be held accountable. Mr. James has been fully exonerated and can continue his education without restrictions." "Hooray!" Brianna exclaimed, clapping her hands. Pablo and Marcus arrived, shouting congratulations. Emily rushed around with the camera, capturing the students' reactions. Cries of, "Justice! Now Epsilon Gamma will answer. Shame on Trevor's father!" Malik leaned against the wall, loosening his tie. Finally, "You got your way," Emily smiled, coming closer. "Go ahead and say a few words for the report." "What report?" He was surprised, but saw that her camera was on. Okay, he said, looking into the lens. "I'm glad the truth came out. I hope now no one will be afraid to talk about pressure and blackmail, and let this case be a lesson for everyone." That same evening, it became known that Epsilon Gamma had lost some of its privileges, and Trevor had withdrawn from public activity in the fraternity, citing family circumstances. Josh, who had been identified by the logs, was temporarily expelled, until all the circumstances are clarified. It's unlikely that they'll close the Brotherhood completely, Pablo thought, sitting with Malik on the steps of the dormitory. But now they definitely won't be able to commit lawlessness openly. "And that's not bad," Malik nodded. "We didn't destroy the system, but we gave it a good blow." "Yes, I hope that everything will change for the better." Soon, Brianna, Marcus, and Leo came up to them. They quietly congratulated Malik on his victory, all together chatting pleasantly about the future. Emily appeared last, holding a folder with some papers in her hands. "Here," she said, smiling. "I've collected all our notes, screenshots, and printouts in one place. If someone ever decides to repeat Trevor's trick, we'll have a ready-made encyclopedia." "That's a great idea," Malik laughed. "Thanks to you, Emily, this whole story didn't end with me getting expelled." "I only helped to illuminate the truth," her eyes shone. "In fact, you yourself defended your honor in the ring, in words, and in your studies. From here on out, there's only forward," he said with quiet relief. "Maybe something really will change. Thank you all." As the warm breeze wafted the scent of flowers through the courtyard, and the evening sun softly colored the ancient buildings of Hathaway University, Malik felt he had won more than just a personal battle. He and his friends had shown that courage and honesty could stand up to privilege and intimidation. And while there were still many challenges ahead, he now knew for sure that if he united with those who believed in justice, no elite clan could suppress the truth.